Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to take you out here into a hop field real quick. We're in week 5 of scouting. Looking at some much warmer weather this week. We're anywhere from sort of the mid-90s to pushing some 100-degree days later on next few days. So just a few updates there for you, and I'll tell you a few of the things that we're needing to be looking for in these hop fields as the weather we get this warm weather, it gets really hot, we start seeing some stress in the plants. So let's go through a couple of the things that we should be looking out for. Obviously always I want to emphasize one of the things you can do, especially in hops, is get like moisture probes for your soil. You want to be very precise. Hops can end up with a lot of disease if they're overwatered. But then on the other end of it, if you stress out a plant, you're going to have a lot of insect pressure. Mites love these really stressed out hop plants. So helps out to kind of work with some of this newer technology, like moisture probes. Get out there, have your local rep help you understand how to read those, and be very precise on your watering and making sure that there's good moisture, but it's not waterlogged in there where you end up with root diseases and stuff like that. So good watering practices. And then also, like I said, as the heat increases and you end up with some plant stress, you're going to see likely an increase in insect infestation in your field. Mites are the biggest thing. They really love stressed out hops. So be looking down low. As it gets really warm outside, I would strongly advise you to start looking in the tops of your plants. These ones are all the way at the wire, and sometimes in the really warm weather those mites will shoot right to the top, or they'll blow in off of a wheat field or a neighboring hop field or whatever it is, and they'll actually start they'll set up there in the top, they'll reproduce, they'll lay eggs, and they'll work their way down the hop plant. So don't let them sneak up on you. Get your little pole up there and pull some of those laterals down and get a good look and make sure you don't have mites up there. Guys, another thing I wanted to point out today, this field has a really beautiful cover crop. You can see there's a few weeds in it as well, but they just did like a wheat and they've actually mowed it down at this point. But one of the real big reasons that we found cover crops to be really valuable in hops is as they're running this equipment through and doing foliar sprays or anything like that, you'll see if you're kicking up a lot of dust, we tend to see a lot more mite pressure in the fields coming along with that. So we found that the fields that have a really good cover crop, that you're keeping the dust levels a lot lower as you're making those passes through with your equipment. Those are the fields that have a lot less mite pressure. You're getting a lot less dust on the leaves. Sometimes you'll actually kick up mites with the dirt, and they'll get onto that plant material easier. So that's something to keep in mind. This is beautiful. Obviously, we're later in the season, so you can see it's starting to get brown because there's not actually anything watering here. This is just all with spring rain and stuff that has actually made this germinate. But it has been tremendously helpful, and it's a very good practice. So a field like this, I was out in it a few days ago. We've seen good beneficial activity. Starting to see some lacewing eggs, so those are all wonderful things in these fields. This one has beautiful arm development. This thing just has really nice long arms, and you can see we're starting to work into bloom. This is a later variety, and so the bloom is just a touch later. A lot of the earlier varieties are already in full bloom. So, but this one has really good arms. We're at the wire. We have good leaf health. I will show you, let me pull you over to this plant a little bit. We have found throughout this field just a touch of discoloration in the leaves and a little bit of burning. This is usually a good sign. Just depending on how that discoloration works in the leaf kind of determines what sort of nutrient deficiency it is. We've looked in our sap samples and stuff. Something like that seems to be a magnesium deficiency. So keep an eye out. Like, get in your field, you go looking through it, you see leaves with discoloration in them. Oftentimes, particularly in hops, if you see a lot of yellowing in your lower leaves, you're looking at potassium deficiency most likely. Could just be underwatering, something like that. So anyway, just want to encourage you. The other thing that we'll deal with, and come over here, you can see in a variety like this, there's a whole lot of undergrowth down low. All these little runners just cruising around. You'll end up with mildews in some of that lower growth. So keep an eye out. As you're watering with that drip, it gets really humid in there with the heat and all these rows closing in and creating a lot of shade and humidity. And you'll see spikes of powdery mildew or something like that. So always be looking in this undergrowth, because that's where you'll see it come up, and then it'll work its way up the plants if you don't take care of it right away. Thank you for joining us today. And remember guys, like and subscribe down below if you find these videos valuable. And remember, make farming fun again.